Welcome to Learn Commerce PU online classes. Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.
Of elements, the array name ye here. So just only we can say collection of elements, collection of objects, or the object and element have the same data type and same name here. So this is about array. Okay. Now it is an array in which each element is accessed by using two subscripts. So clear this part here. As we know that in case of the one-dimensional array, maybe the number of elements 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Maybe to access the element 10, that means sure we are using the position value 0. Maybe to access the element 20, we using the position value 1 here. Maybe element 30, position value 2, and so on. Correct, no? So we know that in our one-dimensional array, just to access the element, we using one subscript, one position value. But what about in case of the two-dimensional array? So we know that it is an array in which each element is accessed by using two subscripts. Clear this point here? So the two subscript represent the position of the element in the array here. So here now what are the two type of the subscripts here? So we can say that the two subscript represent the position of the element in the array here. So what are the two subscripts? The element of two-dimensional array are represented as row number and column number. So clear this point here? That means here in our one-dimensional array, no any problem. There is no more subscript. Just only one index value is there, one position value for each element. But what about in case of the two-dimensional array? We know that in our two-dimensional array, two subscripts are there here. So such two subscripts are used to represent the position value. The subscripts are, one is the row number and second one is called as the column number. And finally we can say that to identify any element, we should know its row number and column number. Correct, no? Maybe in case I want to find out the element here, the number of the collection of element is that the collection of the element 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, kya? So now we know that we need to use, that means just only to identify. Maybe I want to use this element, the number 1. I want to use the number 1. That means sure what the element, what's the position or the row number and column number. I need to use the column number 0, 0. Okay. So this one is called as the row number. Okay, here two rows are there. So this is whatever the value or whatever the line that is going to move from left to right, that is called as the row. Clear this point here? So this is the row 1. So row 1 ಅಲ್ಲಿ 1 ಮತ್ತೆ 2 ಅಂತ value ಇದೆ, and this is called as the row 2. Clear this point here? So row ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಲೈನ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಮೂವ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, the line are going to move in left to right, that is called as the in our horizontal manner. Okay, so two rows are there in this example, and later next one whatever the line going to move from top to the bottom, that is called as the column 1. Okay, and maybe here second column. So this one is the second column. So in this case we can say that there are two rows and two columns, and we know that to identify the number 1, just I want to access the number 1, then sure I need to use the row number and the column number. Okay, kya? The row number and the column number, as we know that the row number is 0. Okay, and the column number also going to start from the position value 0. As we know that we are in the concept of arrays here, and the array position value going to start from the value 0. So just I used here 0, 1, 0, 1. So just to access the number 1, we need to use 0, 0. Later words we can access this element, and to access the element 2, that means I need to use 0, 1. I need to access the row number and the column number 0, 1. That means I can access the number 2 here. Maybe to access the element 3, I need to use 1, 0. Okay, the 1, 0, I can access the element 30. So here just only I want to say here, to identify any element we should know its row number as well as the column number. So in our two-dimensional array, as we know the meaning of two-dimensional array, as we know that here two subscripts are there and the subscript of the element of two-dimensional array are row number and the column number. Okay, we know about the meaning about our two-dimensional array. And now the next point is about our declaration of two-dimensional array. So what about the declaration of two-dimensional array? As we know that the declaration only called as the general format or syntax of a two-dimensional array. As we know the syntax of one-dimensional array, data type, array underscore name, opening of the square bracket, size, closing of the square bracket, semicolon. Correct? No? So this is the syntax of the one-dimensional array. Now what's the difference to our one and to the two-dimensional array? So in this case, before going to tell the declaration or the syntax of two-dimensional array, first of all here, that means our two-dimensional array can be declared by specifying the data type of the element. Without data type, it's not possible to take the array name. So first of all, you need to declare, you need to specify, that means the data type of the element here, and later next one, its array name, correct? No, its name or its array name here, and also with that we need to use the maximum number of the row size and the column size. Clear this one? Now the syntax of our two-dimensional array. So this syntax going to start data type, array underscore name. Instead of array underscore name, you can use array name, no problem. Then opening of the square bracket, row size, closing of the square bracket. Again we need to open the square bracket and column size here, closing of the square bracket and semicolon. So clear this point. Now the full explanation of each point here. So again I want to repeat the declaration what we written here. Data type, array underscore name, opening of the square bracket, row size, closing of the square bracket, opening of the square bracket, column size, closing of the square bracket, semicolon. As we know, this is called as the declaration of two-dimensional array. Now first of all, the data type. So what kind of data type we can take in our arrays here? So here we can say that where data type specifies the type of the element to be stored. Okay, so what type of data type we can take in our two-dimensional array? The data type are int, okay, integer, char, character, float, that means our fractional point here, struct, union, okay, in this case pointer. So all type of data type we can take while going to take the name or the data type. Okay, so ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ data type ನಾವು ತಗೊಳ್ಬಹುದು, ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಒಂದು, not everything together here, any one data type we can take. So some of the example, so data type ತಗೊಳ್ಳುವಾಗ ಯಾವುದೆಲ್ಲ data type ನಾವು ತಗೊಳ್ಬಹುದು, ತಗೊಳ್ಬಹುದು char, float here, struct, union, pointer. So all type of data type we can take, and after that we know that we need to write array underscore name. So what about the array underscore name? The array underscore name is the name of the array. That means it is a common name, and such name is shared by all the elements of the array. Correct? No? Maybe in this case we know that in our array concept, not just only the variable have only one value. That means here the variable containing number of the elements. That means in our normal variable, just one variable containing one value only. But in our array concept, as we know that the one variable contain a number of the collection of the elements, the number of the values here. So we can say that means the array name is the name of the array, and it is a common name, and such name is shared by all the elements of the array. Maybe example 10, 20, 30. So how many elements are there? 40. That means going to start from the position 0, 1, 2, 3. So total how many elements are there? Total going to start from 0 to 3. That is equal to 4 elements are there. So all the 4 elements have the same name. the same name is the A only, and data type also the same, that is the int. So this is the meaning of the array underscore name. That means the common name that is shared by all the elements of the array here. Correct, no? And later after completing the array name in this case here, so after completing about our array name, let's go for our row size and the column size. Okay kya? So in case of the row size and column size, specifies the maximum number of row and the column need to store within the array. Correct, no? Maybe we need to take the row size also, as well as we need to take the column size. So we can say that the row size and column size specifies the maximum number of elements, the maximum number of rows and columns we need to store within our array. So one example, let's by using the declaration of two-dimensional array, we need to use one example. As we know that data type, that means any type of data type we can take. So I'm using the data type name as the int, okay, and array name I'm using as the capital letter G. You can use small letter G, no any problem here. So the capital A or small J here, and this is the name of the array, and later the row size I'm using as the 10, and the column size also I'm going to use as the 10 only here. So what about in this case, how many elements are there in this collection of the elements? So totally we can say that the A is a two-dimensional array. Correct, no? It is the declaration of the two-dimensional array here. So A array name is a two-dimensional array with 10 rows. As we know that this one is called as the rows and this one is called as the columns. Correct, no? So with the 10 rows and 10 columns here, which means array A has 10 into 10, that means our 10 into 10, when you are going to multiply 10 into 10, we will get how many elements? That means totally we'll get 100 elements. Clear this point? So in this case we can say that totally it have the 10 rows and 10 columns. Rows hege start ಆಗ್ತದೆ, so this one is called as the rows. Okay kya? Any line going to move or any number going to move from left to the right is called as the rows. So one row, two row, three row, four row, like that only 10 row we will get. Okay kya? So like that 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, okay, and 10. So like that we need to write the 10 elements in this manner here, and also the 10 columns. Okay here, the 10 line going to move from the top to the bottom here. So totally how many elements we can store just by using the row size 10 and column size 10? That means we can say that, which means array A has 10 into 10, 10 rows, 10 columns, that is equal to the 100 elements. So arthaita idralli, what about in this case here? Okay, now completing the declaration of two-dimensional array. Now let's go for our initialization of two-dimensional array. Now just I completed first of all the meaning of the array. As we know that two subscript we need in case of the two-dimensional array. The subscript are, one is the row size, second one is the column size. Row size hege move ಆಗ್ತದೆ, left in the right ಗೆ, column size top in the bottom ಗೆ. Okay kya? Top to bottom kya? And later declaration, as we know that data type array underscore name, and we need row size as well as the column size, and this is called as the example of two-dimensional array. So total, in case if you are using 10 rows and 10 columns, totally how many elements we will get? Total elements are 100 elements. Okay, now let's go for our third concept here. The concept name is the initialization of two-dimensional arrays. Okay, the initialization of two-dimensional arrays in this case here. So what about the initialization? As we know that if you are using int a 2 and 2 rows, 3 columns, and if you are using semicolon, this one is called as the declaration. Correct, no? ಹೇಗೆ ನೀವು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ declaration ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ? Now this is the example of the declaration. Here the data type is there, array name, row size, column size, later words I used the semicolon. Till here it is called as, or this one or this example is called as the declaration of a two-dimensional array. ಯಾವಾಗ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ initialization ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ? When you are going to use the equal sign, when you are initializing some value to the rows and column, it is called as the initialization of two-dimensional array. And how it possible to do the initialization? Just by opening the equal sign. Okay, ಯಾವಾಗ ನೀವು 2 ಮತ್ತೆ 3 ಆದ ನಂತರ equal sign use ಮಾಡ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ, ಆಗ that means you are going to make some initialization to the rows and columns. As we know that here how many rows are there? 2 rows and 3 columns. So some of the value we can provide, that is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Clear this point here? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As we know that 2 rows are there. 2 rows means here 1, 2. Correct me here? 1, 2, and later next one 3, and later next one 4, 5, 6. So how many rows? So we can say that this one is the 1 row, this one is the second row. So 2 rows we completed. Okay, the 2 rows, first one is this is the first row and this one is the second row. Now 3 columns, we know that this is the first column. Okay, and this one is the second column and this one is the third column. That means we completed. So totally how many elements are there? As 2 rows and 3 column containing total 6 elements. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this one is the example. That means here just I given the example with the declaration and the initialization. So clear now what's the difference and which one is called as the declaration of two-dimensional array and what about the initialization? ಯಾವಾಗ ನೀವು equal sign ಕೊಡ್ತಿರಲ್ಲ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು initialization ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಅದರ ನಂತರ some of the value you need to give it. Okay, maybe one example I provided here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I already said here what about the rows and what about our columns. Okay, now let's go for the initialization of two-dimensional array. So in case of the initialization, the two-dimensional array can be initialized either by initializing in its declaration. As we know that how we are going to make initialization to our two-dimensional array, first of all we need to make the declaration. Int a, opening of the square bracket, 2, closing of the square bracket, again opening of the square bracket, 3, closing of the square bracket, equal sign. Correct na kya? So we can say that here in our two-dimensional array, in this case here we can initialize the value after the declaration. Correct no? That means maybe going to initialize after the declaration and just by using the operator or the statement. Which operator going to use? That means the operator is called as the assignment statement. So we can say that the two-dimensional array can be initialized either by initializing in its declaration or by using the assignment statement. Now let's in this example whatever I said as an explanation, now this is the example of such explanation. As we know that first of all we need to use the data type, second one name of the array. So I used name of the array as A, and later next one row size 2 and column size 3, and later by using equal sign I initialize some of the values. The values are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and enclosed within curved braces and finally terminated by using the semicolon. Okay, the terminated by using the semicolon here. So here we can say that in this example the array A has 2 rows and 3 columns. Is it right here? What I am going to tell here, is it right? That means we know that the array name is the A and such array has 2 rows and 3 columns. Correct no? Which is equal to 6 elements. The elements are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Correct no here? Okay, now we know that about this one. Now let's the structure of the array. Okay, after the declaration, or we can say that after the declaration with initialization. So it going to show as below here. So in this case I already provided one structure of the number of the elements here. So the elements are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No any changes? Whatever the elements are there after the equal sign, now just only the structure of such elements. Okay kya? So this is the structure of the array here. Clear this point here? This one is the structure of the array in this case here. So how we are going to do the structure of the array after the initialization? So after the initialization, we know that whatever the elements are there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we know that how many rows are there? Here totally 2 rows. The first one is called as the row and second one is called as the column. Correct no kya? So how many rows are there? Now this one is the first row, this one is the row 1. Okay, the row 1, and this one is called as the row 2. As we know that it going to move from left to the right, so this one is called as the row 1 and row 2. So totally 2 rows are there. How many columns are there? 1 column. Okay, this one is the first column, this one is the second column, this one is the third column. As we know that means here the column going to move from top to the bottom. So totally how many columns are there? Totally it contains, or A has 3 columns. Clear this point here? 3 columns. So we know that maybe to access the element 1, how I am going to access the element 1 in this case here? As we know, after knowing the rows and columns, what about the row and column here? Now just I want to tell how to read the elements, how we are going to know the element, identifying the element here, or maybe accessing the element of the 2-dimensional array. So maybe I want to access the element 1. So as we know that 2 rows, position value going to start from 0, 1, 0, 1. Okay kya? 2 rows are there, 0, 1. That means we need to stop. Totally how many columns are there? 3. 3 columns are there, 0, 1, 2. So 0, 1, 2. So clear this point here? ಯಾವತ್ತು ನಿಮಗೆ ನೆನಪಿರಬೇಕು, ಪೊಸಿಷನ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ? 0 ಇಂದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ ರೋ ಗೆ 2 ರೋಸ್ ಇತ್ತು. ಸೊ 0, 1, 0, 1. ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ 3 ಕಾಲಮ್ಸ್. So 3 columns are there, 0, 1, 2. Okay, 0, 1, 2 here. So we can say that now we know about this one. Okay, how to read the element? Maybe I want to access this element. That means sure I am using A of 0. Okay, and A of 0. What I used here? That means maybe the array name is the A. The array name is the A. 0, A of 0, 0, element 1. Okay. We need to access row as well as the column. We need to access the row as well as the column here to access the element 1. Okay here, and later that means we'll get the value 1. Later next one is the 2. I want to access the element 2. So how I am using? First of all I am going to access the row, then I am going to access the column. Okay here, so when you are accessing the row 0, 1, that means we'll get the element 2. Clear this point here? And later maybe to access the element 3, that means here A of 0. As we know that first of all we need to access the row here, then we need to access the column just to find out to get this value. Okay, 2, and later next one is about our 3. That means we completed the first row values. Okay, the 1, 2, 3. Now just we got the answer 1, 2, 3 here. And what about 4, 5, 6? How we are going to access? As we know that in case of the 4, 5, 6 we need to use first of all the row number. The row number is 1 and the column number is 0. Okay, the row number is 1 and the column number is 0, just to access the 4th element, the 4, 1. Okay, the element 4 here, or maybe to access the element 5. What you are going to use? That means we need to use A of, okay, first of all the row number. The row number is the 1 in this case here, and later next one the column number is also the 1. Okay, so 1 and 1 will get the value, the element number, that is 5 here. Maybe to access the element 6, ಹೇಗೆ ನೀವು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ? To access the element 6 we need to use the row number, that is 1, and the column number, that is 2. Okay, so that means 1, 2 will get the value 6. Clear this part here? So 4, 5, 6. That means in this manner, in this way, we can read the element, we can input the element, we can access the element, or we can identify the element. Clear this one? ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ? ನಾವು ಹೇಗೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ ನಾವು ರೋ ಅನ್ನು ಆಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಅದರ ನಂತರ ಕಾಲಮ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ರೋ ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ, ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ನೋ? ಸೊ ಮೇ ಬಿ ಎನಿ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಮೂವ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಲೆಫ್ಟ್ ಟು ರೈಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಮೇ ಬಿ ಎನಿ value going to move from left to right, this one is called as the row in this case, or maybe any value going to move from top to the bottom, this one is called as the columns. So clear this one here? Just to access 1 2 3 4 5 6, what I used, first of all 0 0, row size, column size 1, then 2 element, row size, column size 2, row size, column size 3, 1 0, row size, column size 4, row size, column size 5, and lastly the row size 1, column size 2, that is equal to, we can access the element 6. So clear this one? Okay, now just we completed the first example of the initialization here. Now let's the second example of the initialization. So what about the second example in case of our initialization here? So in this case, example 2, int as it is, data type we need to write, the name of the array A, row size 2, column size 3 is equal to, I initialized some of the values, okay, 1, 1, later next one, after that opening of the flower bracket 2, then we need to close the parenthesis twicely, that means the flower bracket twicely here. Now this is one kind of the example, but in this example here just only openly they provided, explicitly they provided the values, correct no? In this case also explicitly they provided the values, but for every memory space some of the values are there, 1 2 3 4 5 6, no any problem, all those value will get in our flower bracket only, no any problem. So no any empty value or maybe any without value is there here. But what about in our second example? So when you are going to think about this example here, the 1 and 1, just only the values are there for our first row, the values are there to our second, correct me here? The first, just only the first 2 elements values are there. But what about here? No value. That means sure we need to write the value. We automatically we need to set the value to 0. And 2 value is there. We already written 2 value is there. But what about here? There is no any value. That means we need to take the value as the 0. Okay, now I already said about this one, I already returned the structure, I added the value to the structure of the 2-dimensional array just by using this example. So here we can say that if the values are missing in an initializers, okay, here if the values are missing, as we know that first 2 values are there but no value for here, so just we used the value is 0, correct no? If value are missing in an initializers, they are automatically set to 0. Clear this one? ಯಾವಾಗ ನಾವು ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ 0 ಅಂತ ಹಾಕ್ತೇವೆ, ಯಾವಾಗ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಮಿಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ ಆಗ ನಾವು 0 ಅಂತ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಕೊಡ್ತೇವೆ. So this will initialize us the first 2 element of the first row to 1, correct no? ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ 1 1, this will initialize us the first 2 element of the first row to 1 here, correct no here? And later next one the first element of the our second row to 2 here and all other value to 0 only. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಎಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇವೆ, ಯಾವ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ನಮಗೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಇನಿಷಿಯಲೈಸರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮೇ ಬಿ ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಬ್ರಾಕೆಟಿನ ಮುಂಚೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾದ್ರೂ 2 ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಇರ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ಆಗ ನಮಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 0 ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ತಗೊಳ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ನೋ? ಸೊ ಹೌ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಪ್ರೊವೈಡ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ 1 1 and 2, ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ನೋ? ದಿ 2 ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ, ಬಟ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ದಿ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅವರ್ second row, first value is there but no any value for our next step, correct no? So if no value are there, then sure such value we need to use as it to the we need to use such value to our 0 only. We need to set the value automatically to the 0 value only here. So clear this example, and later we know that just only to access the element 1. That means we know how many rows are there. 2 rows are there. The first position going to start from 0. The second position going to start from 1. Okay, now the first position 0, 1. So 0, 1 here, and 3 columns. The position value going to start from 0, 1, 2. Now I want to access the element. How I am going to access the element? So A of row size 0, column size 0. That means I can access the value 1. Okay here, and later next one, maybe to access this value, as we know that we need to use row size. The row size is the 0, the column size is the 1. Okay, 1. That means I can access the value 1 here. Maybe to access, first of all we need to use the row size. Okay, then we are going to use the column size. So here we can say that A 0, 2. Okay, 0, 2 here. That means we can identify, we can access the element 2 in this case, and later next one, to access the value 2 we need to use the row size and the column size. So the row size is the 1 and the column size is the 0. That means I can use the value 2 here, and just to access the 0 value, the row size is the 1 and the column size is the 1. So we can access this value here. So 1 and 1. Okay, so that means the value is the 0, and lastly to access, first of all the row size is the 1 and the column size is the 2 here. So 1 and 2. Okay here, so 1 and 2 we can access the value. So we can say that the 1, 1, 2. So 1, 1, 2. Clear this point here, and later 2, 0, 0. So 2, 0, 0. So like that we need to use the row size value and the column size value. So artha aitala ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ? So what about the row size value? That means our row size value means in our array the position going to start from 0. So 2 rows idre 0, 1. 3 columns idre 0, 1, 2. Clear this point here? So totally 0, 1, 2. Total that is equal to, if in case when you are going to count 1, 2, 3. Clear this one? Okay. So this is our second example. Okay, the second example, if any values are going to miss, that means sure you need to use such value automatically, or such value need to set to the value 0 only here. And later let's about the third example. In our third example we already written the third example. This is data type, array name, and this one is called as the row size, called as the column size. I initialize the value, but here every value that is equal to 0 only. So how we need to use this structure? This structure is the, as we know that here every value is 0, that means we can say that just only the 0 value is there, and towards second, and if no value are there, all those value we need to set to automatically set to the 0 only. Correct? No? So 2 rows 0, 1, 3 columns 0, 1, 2. Okay, now A of, maybe the array name is A, row column that is equal to 0, row column that is equal to 0, row column that is equal to 0. Like that we can access the value in one dimensional array. No problem. 12, 5, 8, 3, 9. All position value will get here only, no any 2 subscript value. Just by using 1 subscript value 0, I can access the value 12. Just by using subscript value 1, I can access the element 5. Just by using subscript value 3, I can access the element 3. So like that, no any problem. But in our 2-dimensional array, we should take the row size as well as the column size. Clear this point here? So like that, that means 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 2, 0. First of all, row matte column. So 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 2, 0. Okay, so clear this point here about our some point in case of our the initialization of a 2-dimensional array here. Now just we completed the meaning of the array and our declaration of two-dimensional array, and later also we completed the initialization of the two-dimensional array by using some of the example. Thank you for watching this video.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.